All right. Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kodash. I'd like to say double honors to my teachers, the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned this truth from. And I would also like to say shalom and salutations to the elect that's out there preaching this word in truth and sincerity. I am the brother Shaquat, and I'm one of the brothers from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal. And I'm back with another lesson. And as always, Lord willing, this lesson will be edifying, and I'll try to make the point as direct as possible, if the Spirit allows me to. But the inspiration of this lesson pretty much comes from a YouTube video that I was watching, and I've watched this individual's videos before. He does pretty decent I was gonna say lessons, but pretty decent videos on pretty much your character and you as a person, right? He goes into character development lesson, how to develop your character. And character development is something that is mentioned in the scriptures. Salaki. It's something that the scriptures touches on. Because it's something that you need to do, right? That's why the scriptures speak about examining yourself, and what's character development, developing your character. But it starts with the inward man, right? And Yahushua speaks about that a lot, or the scriptures go into that, right? A lot. The inward man, fixing the inward character, which is more important, right? But this is what this individual goes into, and the YouTube handle is Newell of Knowledge, right? And the title of this video that he's doing, which I'm gonna play a short excerpt of, is entitled "Congruence is the easiest way to become socially magnetic." All right, but I wanted to touch on a point that or something that he mentioned, or how he defined the word congruence, and then pretty much just analyze it, cross-reference it with the scriptures, because the scriptures is where the power is at, right? So here we go.
The quality of your social life depends on your ability to be congruent, which means what you feel, think, and say are all in alignment. The opposite would be incongruence, which means you feel or think one thing, but then you say another. For example, being incongruent would sound like this. Oh, hey man. Still down to go to the cinema tomorrow? Bollocks, I knew he would ask me that. I don't want to go to the cinema. I want to go to a restaurant instead. Anyway, I'll just tell him I don't want to go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I'm down. Ah, nice. Being congruent, however, would sound like this. Hey man. Still down to go to the cinema tomorrow? Do you know what? I don't actually feel like going to the cinema anymore. I'd much rather go to a restaurant. So if you continue to live in incongruence, soon enough you'll hate yourself so much because you won't be able to trust anything you say. Not to mention other people won't be able to trust you either, because there will always be a mismatch between what you say and what your body demonstrates. But if you choose...
Right, and just to simplify, you're pretty much being dishonest with yourself, right? So yeah. Let me play that one more time, right? Because the example of being incongruent that he brought out was what your mind, what you think, what you feel, and what you say are not in harmony, right? And that could be tied to ruling your spirit, being able to rule your spirit, controlling your spirit, and understanding yourself as an individual. That's why the scriptures say this. So like here, while I pull it up. Give not that unto it. In the book of Sirach 37. Sirach 37 and verse 27, it says, "My son, prove thy soul in thy life." Right? So try your spirit. Examine your spirit in your life, especially being in this truth, because that's what being in this truth is all about. It's about reflecting and really like looking within to see, yo, these are my flaws. These are things that I have to work on. These are things that I have to tighten up on. But these things I'm doing good. These things I'm on point with. But these things, yo, I gotta really fix them. And what can I do to move? What can I do moving forward to fix these things, right? You're supposed to constantly evolve. Like, think, and I'm speaking to myself first and foremost. But being in this truth, you're supposed to constantly see how you can take it to the next level, you know and whether you're a brother that does things in order, like you deal with one thing at a time and perfect that and then move on to the next one, or you're a brother that's like, oh, yo, that can do different things at the same time in installments, at small amounts. Uh you can work on this, you can work on that, you can do that all at the same time, but brothers are different. You have your own way you go about things, right? But that's proving your spirit in your life, right? And it says, so Sirach 37 and 27, it says, "My son, prove thy soul and thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it." Right? So see what is evil, what's bad for your spirit, and what's good for your spirit. Really understand yourself for being in this truth, right? And it's a lot easier being in this truth to understand yourself because you have what? The scriptures as a gauge, as a measuring stick to be like, okay, yo, this I'm doing right, this I'm doing wrong. Because that's what the scriptures are, that's what they are. They're like a mirror, man. Right? You know? That makes you look within yourself and being like, yo, am I being like Yahushai? Would Yahushai do this? Right? That's what the elder apostle Kavar often says, right? The question that you should pose within yourself is, what would Yahushai do? You know? And we are what? Um, we are in the process of becoming, or Yahweh, we are in the process of Yahweh growing within us, right? That's why it says this, um, real quick, uh, be formed in you. Yep, Galatians 4 and verse 19. My little children, of whom I travail in birth again, until Hamashiach Yahushai be formed in you. That's right. So we are conforming into the image of Yahushua because that is what um, that is perfection, right? But that's what we're striving for, to be like Yahushua, to be perfect, right? That's why it speaks about in Proverbs 4, the path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more onto the perfect day. All right. So yeah, examining yourself is very important, and with examining yourself, you come into harmony within yourself. You come to harmony within yourself and knowing that like that's the spirit. You can see the face of this individual that's drawn. It looks like a person that's at peace with what he thinks, what he feels, and what he says. But that's congruence. That's congruent. You know, uh, because that's also, you could tie that to what? Ruling your spirit, right? That's what did the scripture say about a person that rules the spirit? Let me get it real quick. This is the book of Proverbs 16 and verse 32, right? It says, "He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty," right? So if you're slow to anger, meaning your mind is stable, you're calm, which you know that also has to be taken with a grain of salt, right? Because there are moments and instances where you might be angry, but then you gotta calm down and be like, okay, just let it go. But that emotion has to run its course for that short period of time. But it can't be too long. But then you be like, okay, let me calm down. It's not that deep. Let me think rationally. Because when you're in an angry state of mind, you're not thinking rationally, right? He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, right? Because mighty men, you know, their spirit is weak to the point where when they get angry, they just crash out and they do something that they can't come back or turn back from. But that's not how we're supposed to be, right? It says, "He that ruleth his spirit, he that ruleth his spirit, then he that taketh the city." So to rule your spirit makes you really strong, right? And that's being at harmony with what you feel, say, and what you think. That's being congruent. All right. So let me play this again.
Example, being incongruent would sound like this.
Right. So this is how we don't want to be.
Oh, hey man. Still down to go to the cinema tomorrow? Bollocks, I knew he would ask me that. I don't want to go to the cinema. I want to go to...
Right, because within yourself, you know, you don't want to, like, if it's in your spirit not to want to do something, you don't have to do it, right? And that's even dealing amongst the brethren, man. If it's in your spirit not to want to do something that the brothers might want to go out to the movies, or I don't know, go out to get a drink. If it's not in your spirit to do that, it's okay to speak up and be like, "Yo, I'm not really feeling that, Salakia. I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna have to pass on that." You know. But if your spirit doesn't want it, if it's not in your spirit to do so, and you agree with it, that's not good. That's being incongruent, and the scriptures back that up. Um, you know. So let me get this real quick. In the book of Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 4 and verse 22, and I'm going to read it in the CEB. It says, don't show partiality to your own hurt, right? So let's look up that word, partiality. Partiality. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Partiality, meaning in the Google. Let's see if I'll pronounce it.
Partiality.
Partiality. Partiality means an unfair bias or strong personal liking for someone or something, treating one person, group, or side better than the other. It is similar to favoritism or prejudice, right? So don't show partiality to your own hurt, right? Dealing with, let's say this example here, right? It's a what do you say?
Being incongruent would sound like this. Oh, hey man. Still down to go to the cinema tomorrow?
Right, so let's say this is somebody that's over you in rank or an elder or something, asks you a question. Do you want to go, hey brother, you still want to go to that movie or to the cinema to watch that movie? Right? And because he has more rank than you and he's older in the spirit than you, or he's an elder, um, you think you have to say yes. Agree with it because of what? That's because he's an elder or he's over in rank with you. That's not the case, man. You don't have to say yes. You can say no if it's not in your spirit to, but there's a way to say it, right? There's a way to say no. You can't just be like no, come out rough, man. You have to be like, so I can't, elder or brother, whatever. It's not really in my spirit to, or you have to say that. You know, you don't be like, Khan, don't say yes out of partiality, because that's gonna lead to your own hurt, because it's not in your spirit to, right? It says don't show partiality to your own hurt, and don't show respect to your own downfall, right? Because it's not sitting right with you in your spirit, and you're gonna be there. You're gonna feel bummed out because you don't want to be there, right? That's not right, because that's clashing. That's rubbing your spirit the wrong way, right? So let me get this as well. In the book of Sirach 20 and verse 20. Let me say 22. And I think this is in the GNT, right? Sirach 20 and verse 22 in the GNT says, you can lose all your self-respect by being reluctant to speak up in the presence of stupidity, right? But that's also, you can lose your self-respect by being reluctant to speak up in any situation. Like in this situation, right? You could be, you could lose your self-respect because, hey, it's not wrong to speak up. Which this is something that I have to work on. It's not wrong to speak up. It's just how you do it, right? That's why scriptures also speak about watching how you rebuke an elder. So it's how you do it. You could tell an elder something, that you can rebuke an elder, but it has to be in a particular way if you're underneath him, man. You can't just be like, oh, yo, you're up, stop that, you know? You have to come in a particular tone, in a particular way, you know? Pull them to the side, you know? But there's a way to do things, right? And there's a way to speak up in the presence of anything or in a situation like this one, right? Verse 23, it says, if you promise a friend something because you're too bashful to say no, you're needlessly making an enemy. Right. You see? And what's that word bashful goes into? Being shy. Right. Shy. You know? Timid. Reluctant to draw attention to oneself. Right? Or partiality. Because out of respect of other person, you think that, oh, because I have to say yes every time. But that's not the case. You know, you being bashful and scared to say no, you might make an enemy. You know, because that brother might see in the spirit that you don't want to do it, but you agreed anyways. So it's like, what are you doing, bro? Just be honest, right? And that's why this is a part of what being socially magnetic. People are attracted to people that are honest, man. You know, and honest about their thoughts, being straightforward rather than pretending. That's being a hypocrite. This is wow, that's being a hypocrite. Incongruent. You're being a hypocrite, and the Lord hates that, right? Wow. Hey, so with that, I'm going to end this lesson there. Lord willing, it was edifying. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Once again, double honors to my teachers, the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Until next time, Shalom, and salutations to the elect.